Whether it's for greater readability, increased emphasis, or simply a matter of personal taste, you might want to change the font as we see it being used in Excel. The native font of Excel is called Calibri. And on the Home tab in the ribbon, we've got a font group. Now, all but two of the buttons in here are related to what we call fonts. The standard font in Excel is 11, and much of the time we keep it that way. But for titles and special emphasis, sometimes we'll choose a different size. I'm going to click on cell A1. Notice the font change in the ribbon now says Candera. Before it said Calibri. This is size 20. Maybe I want that font to be larger or smaller. Click the drop arrow, and as we slide over the numbers, immediately you see what's happening. And at different times, you'll have different reasons for changing this. While we're here, just to the left, that Candera font may or may not be to your liking, but as we click the drop arrow here, it opens the door to quite a few choices, some of which perhaps would be completely inappropriate in a business environment. But as you slide over these, you might get some ideas. And occasionally it might be fun to use these in certain environments. We can change these at any time. In Microsoft Word, the native font is Times New Roman. And a lot of people use that for titles. There's Times New Roman. Currently it's bold. That's certainly a feature. A lot of times we want to apply it to text to make it stand out. How's that look without bold? Well, maybe that's okay. How about italics? Sometimes you want to offset data here by using some of the font features. Maybe all these numbers are just these here possibly. We'll make them bold. Making italic, well, maybe not, but we can do that too. And we can underline as well too. I don't think we need that here really, but again, you experiment from time to time. Here's underlining. And these three buttons are what we call toggle buttons. They're all on off. So at different times you come back and remove the feature. Same thing with italic, same thing with bold. There's a little drop arrow to the right of underline. We can use double underlining. And back later, underline, and maybe back later, we don't want to use it at all. So you can quickly get the feel for those too. So we offset our data sometimes. Now there are other capabilities as well, and we don't see them necessarily on the Home tab. Lots of formatting choices, quite a few font choices, but there's a little arrow in the lower right-hand corner here. Slide over that, you get some ideas, but when you click that button, and by the way, it's referred to as a dialog box launcher, it brings up the Format Cells dialog box. And there are lots of choices here, and you could even switch into other tabs if you wanted to. But not only are we seeing the choices that already appear in the ribbon menu, we see some additional ones. For example, here's kind of underlining single accounting, double accounting. If you click that and watch the preview to the right, you'll see the difference there. That may or may not be important to you, but it's another aspect of it. We've got superscript and subscript. As I cancel here for the moment and scroll down a bit on the left-hand side of the screen, if you were to make either of these entries, you couldn't quite get them this way unless you were to edit the number 2 in each case and put in either superscript or subscript. And looking down column A, there's strike through. That's also available in that same location. And you can also quickly get into that same dialog box at any time by pressing Control-1. It won't always necessarily take you to the Font tab, but here we can get to some of these other features that we mentioned, superscript, subscript. And sometimes you'll come here and apply a bunch of features at the same time. In other words, change the font style and the size, and maybe even the color. When you change the color of font, be careful. If you're using numbers, making them red sometimes denotes negative, so you want to be careful with that. If I use it here on cell A26, that's probably not going to be too significant. I'll make it purple maybe or blue. And of course, a lot of these colors don't work so well on a white background, but we see that effect too. So we've got different reasons at different times for changing either the font or the font size or the font color, and some of the other related features related to fonts by way of this button, the dialog box launcher, which brings us into the Format Cells dialog box on the Font tab.